I'm 20 years old. Been in natural gas compression for almost 3 years now. Started out life as a young kid working on engines with my dad. Taught me everything I knew. And about 10 years old, 12 years old, got into drag racing and a junior dragster. Learned the ropes on that stuff. At 15, I moved into a big car, which is my 68 Camaro that I have now. And of course, it was gifted to me. I've had multiple engine transmission combinations in it. At 16, I opened my own shop and did LS engine performance stuff, cams, heads, bottom ends. Did transmission work on the side. And then within the time of me turning 18, I was continuing that, but also working in the natural gas and oil field space and doing transmissions, especially on the side. At the time, I'd bring in 5, 6 a week for $1,000 a pop. Uh, and then here we are now, been through a buyout, a layoff in 3 years. So seen the good side and the bad side of the oil field. And hopefully we're starting to look at the good side now.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, for sure. And just in the last 6 months of working together, you've really accomplished a lot, haven't you? You've really accomplished a lot. I want you to hit on that a little bit. Also, I want you to hit on, your fellow Gen Z, there's a really, really special place in my heart for Gen Zs. I think that they carry a lot of talents. You guys carry a lot of talents that us millennials don't, especially, well, what's the other one? I'm drawing a blank here. It would be my mom and dad. Gen X, thank you. Yeah, Gen X.
That's my generation.
There we go. There's David's.
So we have three generations here.
Absolutely, that's cool, man. That's cool. So, like, how can we complement each other? I want to hear your thoughts on that, and then we'll throw it over there to David. Yeah.
Well, to start in on that point, man, like the Gen X's, they grew up with no technology and they didn't see technology until they were, what, I'm going to guess 30 years old at least, before any real technology came out, like Apple computers and cell phones and flip phones and whatnot. Millennials, they've had at least half of their life involved in technology. And then my generation, the iPhone released not long after I was born. So I've had technology in my hands since the day I was born, pretty much. So I guess in a way, the Gen Zs are helping the Gen X and things like that, skipping over the millennials almost for more of a technical aspect. And then millennials are helping everybody because they're the happy median. But some of the things like accomplishments I mentioned, whenever start from the beginning here. The day I turned 18, I opened up a credit card account and other lines of credit on top of that. So by the time I was 19 years old, I'd racked up 42,000 in debt, paid it down. I think I had down to 25,000 at one point, and then picked it back up. Paid most of it off down to 12,000, which was for a personal loan that I'd had, and that's about the time that me and William were talking. Since then, I've got that paid off. I've got a couple other lines of credit that were opened up, obviously with the house, and then a more recent one with a dirt bike that I purchased in June, but that's soon to be paid off anyhow. Uh, then buying a house at 20 years old, be 21 within 3 months of living in it, 4 months of living in it. So I feel like that's a pretty big milestone.
Yeah, huge milestone, huge milestone. I want to toss it over to David. I know David's filled with questions.
Well, I love how Gus says, our generation and his generation work hand in hand together, and then we just missed you, Will. So what's up with that?
Yeah, well, I was the happy medium.
Yeah, Will's generation's more of the mediator of things. Because when we can't help a Gen X, especially like my father, he is not good with technology at all. Uh, I sometimes have to pass it off to a millennial like my brother and let him handle it because he has a better way of explaining it because he had to learn through some of the hard stuff of figuring out technology.
But I can say one thing about the best X generation there is. We had to do things old school. So when power goes out, things happen, we can still handle it. We know what to do.
Yes, sir. Which I definitely agree. And I'm more old school myself. I mean, I'll throw electronic fuel injection in the trash and put a carburetor on something before anything. I'm more of a dinosaur that was just born.
I like that.
So my question for you is mindset. You have overcome a lot. A lot of people in the Gen Z, they don't do what you do. You have overcame tremendous, and with that mindset that you have, how can you help the other Gen Zs to get that mindset?
Mainly just motivation. It's like handing or putting a piece of cake in front of somebody that they just could barely reach. And they have to grow to that point to be able to reach that piece of cake. But that's the best thing I have to put it as because I haven't met very many people my age that have the same mentality of get out there, get it done, and go home.
To be honest, very honest, I haven't met very many people, just regardless. And what do you think that that is contributing to, Gus? Are there any kind of very special talents or gifts, or what has been your story in fostering a winning mindset?
Mine is just that I have a mechanical and systematic mindset. I have to know how everything works to understand it. I mean, engines are complex machines to somebody, but once you understand top to bottom of what everything does, it makes it so much easier and understandable. So it's more of a goal at that point to understand everything that I possibly can.
Mm. Yeah.
I don't know as if there's one specific thing that you can possess to be able to accomplish that.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, Will, being a moderator for the two
Mediator.
generations, mediator for
Close.
the two generations, and you've been doing a wonderful job on pushing Gus for excellence. How can you inspire the Gen Zs from what you've learned from Gus to be able to touch the Gen Zs?
Well, I'm not sure if I feel comfortable with taking credit for pushing this young man. I think what I've done really in Gus's life is validated him. I think I validated him more, or validated you more. Here you are, more than I pushed you. I think that you've been pushing yourself, and you just needed somebody to come along and really point out those really good qualities and validate them, and validate you. So that's what I see the majority of, and then how I can keep doing that. We're all so different. I think it goes back to what you said, Gus, and David. It's like I don't know how we could put one thing and then say this is it. It's a matter of showing up when we don't feel good. It's a matter of being willing to do the things that other people are not going to do, uh, and being consistent and starting to grow and build that reputation to really foster that winning mentality.
Yes. And one thing I would stretch is if you're validating, if he's looking for that validation, would that be a push as well? Because if he doesn't get the validation, Gus, if you didn't get the validation, would you have been slower?
Most definitely. I mean, especially here recently, like purchasing the house, we put back a really, really big chunk of change just as safety money. I mean, we didn't even need it for our down payment because we had it from day one, but we cut back a lot more than we ever thought we could and got even more money put back than we thought we could. But mainly, and I would not necessarily put it specifically on validation, it's more of showing a goal like, hey, you can have random number $100,000 in 6 months. You can have $50,000 tomorrow, kind of thing. You know, it's almost like a Oprah Winfrey, you get a car kind of situation.
Yep. 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 Yeah. Yeah. You know, there's something special about saying, okay, you know, if you just stop buying $50,000 toolboxes, you'll have $50,000. You know, there's something about that. You know, it sounds silly, but yeah, putting it in a goal format and saying, you know, you really can. Where the money that you're making, you can have X amount by this date. Uh, that kind of brings it from our intuitive mind to our rational mind. Say, oh, okay, what do I need to do to accomplish that? You know.
Yes, sir. Uh, Man, which recently, you know, it's kind of like when we first started talking, you mentioned there's a difference between I can afford something and I can afford something. Because on one hand, you can afford the payment. On the other hand, you can afford to buy it in cash. So on the money aspect, I just needed my eyes opened up of you pay off all of this debt, you're paying 3 grand a month, 4,000 a month. You've got 4,000 extra dollars every single month.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's like how do you still need your eyes open? You know, it's like how do you still need your eyes open? Because I know by no means do you think that you have arrived, but man, the progress that you've made as far as eye-opening experiences, it's been second to none. Uh, but you know, with you being a new homeowner, of course, that it comes with its share of difficulties. And then you're just about to be a married man, you know, and that's going to be wonderful. That's going to be, well, you're not going to be experiencing any difficulties from that for, you know, I think the honeymoon stage is estimated, at least it's different for everyone, but it's estimated to be at least 6 to 8 months. So you can expect to be flying on cloud nine for that long. Uh, and that'll be, like I said, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, and congratulations.
Appreciate it.
So, in what ways do you think that you like, well, maybe in this area I could be challenged or I could have my eyes opened?
Uh, Spending time at home for sure. Because I just got home Tuesday actually, and before that, so that was a 14-day hitch. Before that, I was home 4 days, gone another 7 previous to that, and then gone or home 2 days whenever my normal off hitch started. So that was 26 days straight that I was gone, and man, there was no time at all at home. That's definitely been the biggest challenge and something that I need to definitely work on. But man, the money's definitely kind of taking a grip right now, but expecting the unexpected, owning a home is kind of the main driver behind that. The main catalyst anyway.
Yeah.
And you know, the really nice, cool thing is when you got a 15-year fixed mortgage, and then you pay double payments, you're free and clear in 5 years.
We've actually talked about that, haven't we, Gus?
Yes, sir.
You know, that's powerful. Just the thought of being a homeowner and, you know, potentially retiring, you know, at 35.
It's definitely a motivator, that's for sure. Which the whole owning a home process, everyone that I've talked to, including William, said that the first bit of it's a little bit stressful, but man, I guess it's the people that I worked with that they made it easy, and then I understand that we have not moved in yet. I really don't see any major stress risers through the process because things are going to happen. You know, you've got to spend money to make money, but there hasn't been anything overly challenging about it yet.
Yeah, sure.
Well, and it's all about the perspective, you know. You go in there, every situation has a positive and negative. Which side are you looking at?
Mm.
You know, so you've
Uh,
got the good attitude that's making it right.
yes, sir. Which I also look at it with, I have a very bad habit of being a negative person. And Kristen over here in the corner, she can definitely agree. But in a way, I think that helps me out a little bit because I'm more prepared for the things that do go wrong.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're more of a realist.
Yes.
Yeah. And and I think it's important to acknowledge, like David, like you said, there's a negative and a positive side to every situation. So with that, we need to recognize the negative situation, the negative side of it, but not to focus on it for too often long, or else we'll be called negative Nancy's, and nobody will want to spend time with us. Kind of like Gus, what you were talking about, and we can just really drain the energy from a situation or even from our beloved. We don't. Uh,
Well,
so, yeah. Well, let me ask this question, and then David, yeah. What has been really the funnest part? We'll call it the funnest part between you and Kristen on finding that middle ground there, where you're not a negative Nancy, and she doesn't feel drained.
The main part is that she's so positive about everything, and I tend to lean more negative of everything. Whenever I'm negative, she's positive. Whenever she's negative, I'm positive. And then whenever we're both just neutral, I mean, it's 100% balance. So it's never really teetered in one way ever. I mean, if I'm upset about something, then she's helping me out. If she's upset, then I'm helping her out. It's kind of a perfect balance, which nothing, of course, can be perfect in that sense, but it's as close to it as it can be.
You're gonna make me cry, bro. Go ahead, David.
you know, I love how you said that she's very positive and you're negative. You pull yourself in, and then sometimes you're reversed. You're always doing that pulling in. A lot of people struggle. They're always one side or the other, and it's hard for people to be right in. They always say it's black or white. Well, it's gray. Well, we have a hard time seeing the gray unless somebody's pulling us in. That's why in our system, we have nerds and free spirit, which pull each other in.
Mm.
You know, you gotta have back in, and you might not know the song, but back in the 80s, they had opposites attract. I moved 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And that's the biggest key is you got to have the pull to get you actually in the right direction. So with that being said, how are you able to help your friends at work with your testimony to pull them to be stronger?
Well, to start off the story correctly, I guess, or the explanation correctly, I mean, I still do struggle with all of the things that you did mention of leaning more negative more often than not. And it does cause issues a lot of the time. But to answer your actual question, I work with a bunch of 40-year-old men. I think the youngest guy I work with is 26, and me and him hired on the same date. So mainly just being open and honest about things in the workplace, especially with everybody. Uh, that's been the main driving factor of having a good crew at work and a good, healthy work relationship.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We were just talking. Um, I don't know, maybe 4 days ago, and you were on the phone with your superior, I think like one of your main superiors, and you guys were shooting the breeze. I got the chance to sit on the wall like a fly just to kind of observe. And you got off. You asked me to hold on, and about 5 minutes later or something like that, you got off. And you said we talk like that almost every morning, and
Yes, sir.
and then we talked about those relationships because you said it's kind of against policy to talk to my superior like that. He said, but you said, to hell with the policy, kind of that this is relational. I've got a good relationship with my boss, and that's what this life really consists of, is a bunch of relationships, whether good or bad, and it's up to us to do our part to make them good. And I see that in you. I see that in you. I see a man that takes 100% responsibility, that shows respect, is very humble and aware, self-aware, of your shortfalls and the things that you can get better at. It's very attractive. It's very attractive on you, brother. You keep doing that, the sky's the limit. Uh, so yeah, that's what I've got to say. I don't really have any questions right now. Maybe David's got something, or perhaps you do.
Well, so my thing is, you work with about, I don't know, about 10, 20 people.
My crew, which on my actual hitch, we have 4,
Okay.
which we're far understaffed. The other crew has 8, but those 4 people that I do have, we're all family while we're there.
Mm. And I love how you have that perspective of people that you work with as family. Not everybody has that perspective. Um, so they move when you move. As you're going through things, they'll see different changes and they'll be like, wait, how can I get that in my life? Has that happened so far to you?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if we have one negative thing, we had a couple of bad apples that we ended up having to weed out, and it just drug everybody down. We lost production. Matter of fact, we almost lost a contract over it, but I can't get too far into detail about that. Uh, Now that we've got a good set of guys, again, especially on the other crew for the 7 days I did stay over, every one of those guys, as soon as they get in, it don't matter if it's 11 o'clock at night, they were cooking dinner for everybody. Like, I'd like to pat on Dylan's back if I ever get to show him this. For 3 days straight, he came in on lunch and he stayed around town working on compressors and stuff. Came in at lunch, started his crock pot up, and had us at least some kind of meal or a soup or something cooked every single day. And that it's just a morale booster. I mean, everybody was more productive, more excited about work, not dreading being there for 14 days straight. Because once you're there, you're there.
Yep. So 14-day, 15-day off, right?
It's 14-14 split.
14-14 split. Okay. So I was close.
Yes,
So
sir.
if you share the link with him, you probably should because that way he can hear you.
Absolutely.
Yep. 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 That'll be good. That'll be good. Dylan sounds like a great guy. Yeah, it sounds like he's thinking about the team. Thinking about the team. Yeah.
Now, my next thing is, when you after work and stuff like that, do you go out and party?
Absolutely not. I haven't partied since I was 16 years old.
So what do you do for fun?
Work on cars, go ride dirt bikes. Shoot, even today, I'm wearing shorts right now, and I was out riding for almost an hour and a half, just trying to condition myself to be ready for next spring.
Wow. And where do you live?
I'm actually in Wheeler, Texas right now, but I'm currently living in Elk City, Oklahoma.
Okay, Oklahoma. And so
Yes, sir.
Oklahoma is what, about 50 degrees over there right now?
Whenever I was out there, it was 45-ish.
5. Okay. Yeah, that's shorts weather. I feel you.
Absolutely.
I think I'm going to be the one standing alone here and saying, no, that's not short sweater. I'm more pants in that weather. Maybe it's turned shorts weather around 65.
Well, here in Tennessee, just be glad you're not here. We have the best weather in the world. Yesterday we had 50 degrees. Tonight we're getting down to 12. I mean, you go from hot to cold to hot to cold. That's just how Tennessee rolls.
Yep. Yep.
Well, I can't speak for recently because I was at work, but 14 days ago, whenever I left, it was 85 degrees outside. Everybody was sweating. And then I went back to work that same day. It was 28 degrees that night. Some nights down there.
Yeah, they say Mother Nature's bipolar.
Oh, absolutely. Which I work in Carlsbad, New Mexico. And down there, my first 2 or 3 days, it was 85 during the day. And I'd see low 30s, mid 30s. After about a week, we dropped down and I saw 19 degrees for about 4 hours. That'd have been my 7th day on hitch. So the weather split. Can't do nothing about the weather.
You know?
Yeah. Home ownership. Home ownership. What excites you the most about being a homeowner?
Having my own space,
Because for the longest time,
which
you have not had your own space, have you?
exactly, which it has a 25 by 30 shop, which is a little on the small side for me, but I'll make it work.
You're gonna have. I'm not sure if that's big enough for your car lift. You have a car lift?
I do, but it's not going with me. Whenever we get ready to go to that stage, we've already got a concrete pad in the backyard. I'm just going to build one outdoors,
Gotcha.
which will limit me to the summer to do lifting activities, of course, pulling transmissions, rear ends, suspension work. But I'm fine with that. Nothing I've got anymore is a rush job.
Well, what about working on saving up so you can actually build a big garage out there in the back?
We're on a double city lot, so I don't think that there's enough space, especially with the coding and things like that. I'd probably have more money in getting everything up to code than I would just saving up a little bit of cash, buying a property 5, 10 acres out in the middle of nowhere to have my own shop.
I love how you already got a plan.
Yep. What's Kristen's favorite thing about it? I know you guys have talked about it.
Well, we'll just ask her real quick. Well, what's your favorite thing that you look forward to about home ownership?
Decorating
Decorating
in the kitchen.
and the kitchen. What about long term? Just having our own space.
Making it my home.
Yeah, making it our home.
Yeah. Yeah. You know,
We don't get overly excited about too much.
Well, you know what I always say? If you live like nobody else today, you can live like nobody else tomorrow. So basically, you work hard now, and you two are going to party like you never believed later on in life.
Exactly. One of these days, I'll invite y'all down to look at the whiskey wall.
what was that? The whiskey wall?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh boy.
Eventually, whenever I become rich, not that anybody becomes rich. Once I get to that point, I'll let y'all come sample some of the finest whiskeys they make.
No, that sounds pretty fun to me.
I agree.
Yeah. The whiskey wall. That's in Texas or Oklahoma?
That'll be in Oklahoma for sure. Unless we move to Texas before then. We really have no set plan of where we want to end up. Texas is ideal, but by then the land and property values may be through the roof, so we can't afford it.
I have a funny feeling Tennessee is in the scope.
I don't think so. I can't go that far east.
Oh, come on, bro. Why?
I like classic cars way too much, and y'all are like right there at the bottom of the Rust Belt.
The bottom of the Rust Belt. Well, we see a lot of classic cars here, and none of them are rusted. Well, some of them are, but
Yeah, they're not rusted because somebody's put the $60,000 or $70,000 into them. It took.
yeah, yeah. We're at the bottom of the Rust Belt. Interesting.
Because I've got a '68 Camaro, '68 RSSS Camaro that I'm pulling an engine on my '63 C30 panel truck, 115-inch wheelbase truck, and pulling the motor and trans out of it this week and putting it in my '68 Camaro to go get everything legalized on it to be able to go get groceries in that.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I'm gonna have to give you some pushback on the Rust Belt. We do salt the roads, and that contributes to rust. you know, a little proactive, preventative maintenance, you know, run our cars through the car wash and we go super slow over those jets that wash the rust out of the bottom. You know, I think that's easily preventable. Um, but also, like down south, I mean, we're the closer you get to the ocean, there's salt all in the air. So, you know, there's that side of it too, yes.
Where I'm at right now is the perfect happy medium because I can let a car in bare metal sit outside for 10 years. All it's going to have is surface scaling. There's not going to be any rust formation or anything like that.
Well, yeah.
So the more arid environment is probably where I belong.
Right on, right on, right on. You know, that's when you know being a mechanic is like ingrained into your identity. Well, when you got it down to science like that, you know, that's awesome. And I'm, you know, it is what it is. That's really cool. David, you had something, I think.
Nah, I was just gonna say that we don't only have salt, we actually put sand in our salted sand in our stuff, which I don't understand.
I'm not sure the science
Yeah,
behind that either.
that definitely makes corrosion worse, especially in anything pre, I'm going to say 1989, because that's whenever GM, especially, which is the one I mainly pay attention to, started putting in foam fillings and wax cavity fillings and stuff to prevent rust. But before that, man, like my 63, you can look down the inside of the rocker panel from the front fender. So it's just a grease trap for all sand, salt, dirt, bugs, everything that a metal is not supposed to have on it.
Mm, yeah, mm, mm. Getting back on track on personal development. I love the tangents. I'm not discouraging the tangents by any means, but I would like to kind of steer back on track personal development wise. But first, let's do a quick time check. David, what time is it?
We are at the point where anybody in the room, if you have any questions, feel free. And we are open to questions, and we'll keep talking until there's questions.
Well, thank you, David. Thank you, David. Yeah, personal development, personal development. Um, how hard has it been to foster a really winning mindset and still achieve those relationships to achieve the relatability that it takes to foster relationships? We were talking the other day, and you were telling me about your small circle. You have a very small circle, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. But talk to us and the listening audience a little bit about that small circle and how it's improved your mindset.
Man, once you start trimming the fat, it's definitely tough to start weeding people off that you really know personally. But once you start trimming the fat off of everything, like I think I've got maybe 5 people that I could pick up the phone and they'd answer at any given point, and 3 of them are family. So after you get down to something like that, you don't have to worry about anybody abusing your kindness or taking your kindness for weakness. But especially once people start getting more wealthy is when you start seeing something like that. But I'm not wealthy by any means, but even though I do well for myself and my family, there's still a lot of hands out in that case. But to keep that better mentality about it, the smaller the circle you have, the less people you have to worry about, which sounds terrible, but it's the truth. I mean, if you've got 5 people, that's 5 people that you're genuinely concerned about at all hours of the day. If you've got 500, you're counting all of your followers on TikTok and Facebook. That's 500 people that you've got to keep up with their lives. And now you don't have time to go out and put in the work. You've got time to sit there and monitor like a hall monitor.
Now, you bring up a good point. Earlier, you were talking about the different generations, and the Gen Zs are very technical people, and you just brought in social media. And I know typically Gen Z love to be on their phones, and they can be on their phones and look away. Um, how are you with Facebook and all that other kind of stuff?
I have Facebook and Snapchat's soon to be weeded out, I'm sure. But Facebook Marketplace is my kryptonite. That is where I spend what I'd say 99% of my time at if I'm on social media,
You sound
unless I'm
like
away from
you're a part
home.
of the Generation X.
I I definitely feel like it for sure. I was growing up and I'd steal a computer from my grandma or my parents and type in the Craigslist classifieds and find some old car, show it to dad, and hey, let's go get this. But Facebook, Snapchat, eBay, that's about where I draw my lines at.
Yeah. Yeah, David, to your point, that I don't even think it's only Gen Zs, but especially Gen Zs. We are just spending way too much time on our phones. And I think one of the main reasons that for me, I'm included in this, something I've really got to watch in me is like this desire to escape from reality. Reality can be hard, and it's just like I need to just escape. And I think social media is some sort of a weird hybrid. They call it social, you know. It's like social. There's not much social about it. Other you can press a button, and it's like I saw you, I liked it, but or I follow you or whatever. I don't follow you, I don't whatever. But and it's this like this idea of escaping from reality, escaping from reality. So I think escaping from reality, in a sense, is a very important thing. I think it's a very important thing. I think it's something that we all need to do. But in how we do it, I think is also very important. Very important. For me, I really love to worship our God. I love to do it in song and praise and prayer with his children, and to me that's just like escaping from all of the toils and hardships and pains of reality. Uh, so whether I'm on Facebook or I'm praying, in a sense, I'm escaping. But the difference is whenever I'm going and communing with the Father and with His children, I'm leaving transformed. I'm leaving new. I'm leaving different. Whereas after Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever X, I'm leaving drained at best. Uh, so yeah, escaping.
My version of escaping reality, honestly, is getting on like Summit or Jegs or anywhere I can find automotive parts, really. And I'll just sit there and I've got a very vivid imagination. I'll see an airbag kit or a set of wheels and I can put that, copy and paste it in my mind onto a car. That is more of my version of escaping from reality than anything.
So. Go ahead and read that for us, David.
Yeah, so because Will mentioned, I had to pull this out. When all else fails, follow the instructions. Now, um,
Yeah.
one of the things I love doing, I love talking to my father, and people like to try to complicate it, make it hard. Um, Hallowed by thy name, thy kingdom come. Um, in the name of Jesus, I come to you. They try to make it complicated, and we have to pray this long thing every time. Prayer is basically talking to God. What up, Father? Boom, I just prayed. It's a simple stuff. We can do that all day long, every day, in the middle of something. God, can you believe this? You know, just simple 1, 2 orders is still prayer. As long as we can keep Him focused, it's going to make things smoother. He'll clear our minds while we're going.
Yeah, no, and that's a wonderful way to look at it, David. For years I wasted my time trying to manufacture feelings, trying to get my heart right, as they say, before I go to God. It's not my job to get my heart right. Matter of fact, I can't do it. I'm unable to get my heart right. It's my job to give God consent. Come in and give me open heart surgery. Hello, like take this hardened heart and remove it. Give me a heart of flesh. Give me a soft heart. then He'll get my heart right. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I just love that, David. That's a powerful word. That's a powerful word. And we're commanded as Christians. If we're going to call ourselves Christians, we're commanded in the Pauline letters. I'm not exactly sure where it is, but perhaps one of you brilliant men know. Uh, Pray without ceasing. Pray without ceasing. It's not a suggestion. It's a command. Paul says, pray without ceasing. And we just kind of read over it. It's not real. It's not. Oh, he didn't mean always. It's like, no, I think he did. But David, you hit on it. You said, those little two liners. We can just kind of go and commune with the Father, and it changes everything, doesn't
Yes, sir. Yeah, and that's the easiest way I found to start doing it. Because before me and Will started talking, I was not very Christian like, honestly. I mean, not very religious to say the least. I haven't stepped foot in a church before that within 5 years, and the last time I did was a funeral before that. So I've tried here and there to go and do the churchy thing, but I just can't fit in that way. That's not my version of that, if you will.
Well, to be honest with you, the churchy thing, religious thing, that's not the way we should be. Um, Most of the people that go to church are going to hell because the church isn't what saves you. It's having a relationship with your Father, just talking to Him. And we can do that anywhere. Now, we go to church to be around like-minded believers, so, iron sharpens iron to, keep us straight. But even in your work, when you're stressed out, working hard, pulling a diesel engine or, moving a transmission. Oh, Father, oh, thank you for your strength. Oh, man, this is heavy, you know. Um, Praise you, Father, this thing got moved. Thank you that it didn't fall on my foot, right? So, I mean, looking at the mindset perspective, um, we don't have to go to church to praise God. We don't have to go to church to talk to Him.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And we're commanded to be the church, aren't we, David? Like that's what we're commanded to be the church. There's too many times where that church is known as the building. It's not the building. Like we are the church.
Where two or more gathered together. Now, I have to say something about you, Gus. You have a
What's
lot of
up?
respect. Like you either came from the military or something like that because you always say yes, sir, and all that kind of stuff. That's a lot of respect that you have. Most people that work with diesels and engines and transmissions, they have what's called a sailor mouth or a swearing mouth. You don't. You're very tame. I like that.
Yes, sir. We're far from military background, I can tell you that. But I was always taught as a kid, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And that's the only way you're going to get anywhere.
Mhm.
That's what was drilled into me as a kid. And I'm not saying it's gotten me anywhere, but it's definitely helped out.
Yeah. No, that respect is huge. That respect is huge. Um, and it's like, yeah, we are the church. We are the church, and it's like, okay, wherever I go, like I'm going to be an ambassador. I'm going to be an ambassador from on high and infiltrate the kingdom of heaven wherever I am. That's what I get to do, and it's amazing.
Yes, sir.
And really, that is the purpose of this life. Uh, yes, it's not a building. We are the church, and I tell you, we put two men of God, two children of God, with that kind of mindset together. Wow. Okay.
Mountains are being moved.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And then three.
And I
Wow.
and I apologize, David. I wasn't trying to downgrade your compliment. I do appreciate it for sure.
No, we get it, man. We get it. We get it. Sometimes that net gets cast for our feet, and that's just a way to evade it. No, we get it. You're good. Um, First, was it First Thessalonians 5:15? Was that scripture reference that I made mention about earlier? If in case anybody's curious. Yeah, and then David, you said, as iron sharpens iron, so does a man's countenance. The facial expression sharpens that of his friends. That's Proverbs 27:17. You know, how important it is. How important it is to show our brother, show our sister what we're feeling. My face will betray me, or maybe it helps me because if my brother or sister knows, if I'm comfortable, if I'm uncomfortable, if I feel loved, if I don't feel loved, it's an invitation for them to come in and help me, help me. Or maybe I'm feeling a little bit too arrogant. My head's a little too big. Maybe I need to be humbled a little bit at it. And somebody have that hard talk with me. But I tried to kind of like David. David, I've heard you say this. You say start out your day with an hour of quiet time with the Father. Gus, we've talked about this too. It's like when we do that, we focus on ourselves. We focus on ourselves. Then we spend the rest of the day focusing on everybody else. But we've got to get ourselves right. God has limited his power in a real way by giving us free will. We can choose to orient ourselves towards him, or we can choose to orient ourselves away from him. He'll never force us. Otherwise it wouldn't be love. It would be some sort of cosmic rage. And our God is not a rapist.
Well, the key thing is David, he always prayed for himself first, and then he didn't focus on himself. He let God fix him. While he focused on his men the rest of the day. Anytime he went into battle, he always won everything. But the reason is he always asked God first. These guys did this. I want to go in there. Can I get their heads? I will give you their heads, go straight in. I will give you the heads, go the long way. I got to do something first. God told him when to go in and how to do it, and he took care of it for him.
Yes, sir. And honestly, I think the best English version, my generation takeaway for that is there is a good time to be selfish and take care of yourself before everyone else.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Like it's this whole idea of we can't give away what we don't have. It's like the great commandment that Jesus gave: love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. That's number one. And then the second was like it, and love your neighbor as yourself. If we're not loving ourselves, we can't give away something we don't have. So yeah, exactly what you said. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be blessed to be a blessing.
That's what we're told anyway.
Yep. Yeah, we got to find it out for ourselves. We got to experience it. Yeah, it's not the same if somebody's just telling us, go step out and find
Yes, sir.
it. Well, any questions so far, David? No questions? No.
None at the moment.
Interesting. Well, I think this has been a very, very invigorating talk. I'm surprised that no question.
So, Gus,
Yes, sir.
you said you work typically, I know the last 26 days you work, but you typically work 14 days on, 14 days off.
Yes, sir.
When you're off, you're still pulling engines apart, or do you take a little bit more time relaxing? What do you do?
So normally my days off, they're kind of almost the same in a way. I'll take 1 to 2 days of just laying around the house doing absolutely nothing. And I mean, zero. Nobody asked me to get out of bed. Nobody asked me to leave the house. We're not going grocery shopping. We're not going out for dinner. I mean, it's just nothing but sleep and sit behind a computer screen, sleep some more, get up, get a drink of water, and that's about it. But afterwards, I mean, it's just back to the constant cycle of go get something done. I mean, 24/7, something needs to be done. It's impossible to sit around for 14 days whenever you've got a whole month of things that you're squeezing into that 14 days now. So it's not at all the same as having a Monday through Friday job because you have a weekend every single week and you're home throughout the week to take care of stuff. Most people are right up the road from their house that they can just go back home if the air conditioner goes out. I don't have that luxury. I'm 500 miles away from home for 14 days and I'm there. If somebody's dying or bleeding out of their eyeballs, I may get to come home.
That's somewhere
But
you typically don't want to bleed out of.
yeah, normally you have a very large issue if you're bleeding out of your eyes. But yeah, for the meat of my days home, I'm just doing things that I want to do because we really don't ever have anything that needs to be done, really. I mean, simple house chores, keeping up on everything, owning a house, maybe a little bit of maintenance here and there, paint something, move a piece of furniture. Other than that, it's mainly just hobbies and trying to relax. Or, I've got a goal of having my Camaro running before I go back to work, just accomplishing small things like that.
Now, whenever you are accomplishing those things, those small things like that, is that something that you and Kristen do as a relationship builder together, or do you guys have other things that you do together?
When I'm home, we're normally doing just about everything together. If I'm home and she's home, but like today, we came out here with intent to pull the engine and transmission until I realized I forgot my little small toolkit. But yeah, here pretty soon we're going to be starting on both of her projects. I bought or helped her buy a 99 3/4 ton Dodge, which is pink, exact opposite of my blue. Uh, and then I've got her a 95 single cab short bed that we're going to be swapping an LS and a 6 speed into.
That'd be fun.
So it's very much a together thing.
Yeah, yeah, mm, yeah. I know that's very important, especially for us guys, to have our lady friends do that with us. I mean, that fills a void that goes pretty deep.
Yes, sir.
So really happy to hear that. Really happy to hear that. Yeah, I think we've got about 5 minutes left. Any last words, anything you want to cover, questions you want to ask Gus? Uh, Anything at all that comes to your mind, bro?
Not at the moment, no, sir. If I
What
think
about?
of something, I'll let you know.
Okay, I appreciate that. Uh, and also be thinking about maybe a final word for our listening audience, everybody that's it could be a Gen Z that's listening and blaming all kinds of things like on their present circumstances, like who's president? Let's say that's a big one. I would be doing this, but Trump messed it up, or whatever. Or maybe they're not blaming the president. Maybe they're blaming something else, but everything but themselves. They're failing to take 100% accountability. Now, what would you tell that person?
It's a little harsh, but especially for the people that may listen to that, get up, shut up, get out there, get something done. It's not hard. Just do it. There's nothing else that you can do other than do it.
You just gave me cold chills all over my body, bro. Love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yes, that's what we need. And is it harsh? Sure. Does it help? Absolutely. When we apply it, that 100% accountability, man, it works, doesn't it, Gus? It works. And David,
And that's the power of having a coach. Sometimes you go there, you need to be pushed. Sometimes you need advice. Sometimes you need a shaking. Sometimes you just need an ear. Sometimes encouragement. Some sessions I'm in, it's just I hear you. I hear you. I see you. It's just that simple. Being in the moment at the moment, whatever is needed is the biggest key. And you've gone powerful places. You're doing awesome things. And um, I love how you said that you're not churchy, but you're starting to get a little bit more involved. I got a simple prayer for you to pray. I did this when I first started, and it's going to definitely help you out. Just thank you, Father, for bringing me closer to you. Something that small, just being able to talk to him. The more you talk to him, the easier things are going to be. He guides you, he helps you every step of the way. So, I mean, just small steps, right?
You know, I'll never,
Yes, sir.
I'll never forget whenever I came to that realization that other people were actually praying. They actually cared. They actually cared enough to stop whatever they were doing and pray for me. Uh, it was an overwhelming feeling of love, feeling.
And the power, I love how you said that power that Christians have that a lot of people don't realize. So, I don't know anybody, and 20 states away, God is putting in somebody's heart who doesn't even know me. Um, a brother needs prayer. Okay, let's pray. His foot needs prayer. Okay, start praying for his foot. As they start praying, God gives them more and more details so they're specific and right on point. As a Christian, as a believer, you have thousands of prayer warriors praying for you at all moments because God is leading people to do that. You know, so that's a powerful, awesome thing. I love how you mentioned that, Will, because that's exactly true. Right? That's right on point.
Yeah. The table of God is the biggest table that we'll ever partake together. Yeah.
Well, do you have any final words? We got 3 minutes left.
I do not. That covers everything that I had to say.
This has been a real pleasure. It always is. Every time we get on, man, God moves and it's powerful. So thank you so much for agreeing to be on. Perhaps we'll have a part two sometime if you're open to that. We can talk about that at a later time. Um, I think that you've been a huge motivating voice for your fellow Gen Zs and even us millennials and you Gen Xs as well. So thank you so much, both Gus and David. I'm humbled to be here. Very humbled to be here in your presence.
And we thank you.
Welcome.
We thank each and every person for coming to watching this, and it's definitely a blessing having you here. So we thank you, and we'll see you next time on the same bat channel, the same bat time. And thank you for coming.